correct torque is when it quits
tight.
moving. When it quits moving, it's tight. If it still keeps sucking in there, it ain't tight. It has to go all the way in. And then you just keep torquing the shit out of it.
Just to make sure,
So
right?
this puts out 200 foot-pounds of torque. So. How much torque was that?
About 205.
No, we lost a lot in here because the tool went out, so it's probably only 100 pounds.
You lost 100? You lost 50%?
Probably. All that bouncing around back and forth. Yeah. Yeah, realistically, you cannot torque a 5/8 thread 100 foot-pounds, more than 100 foot-pounds without stripping. So yeah, you lose a lot of torque. A lot. That's why you keep torquing. As you can see it moving quite a bit. That means it ain't all the way in yet. And if you're not for sure, take it back off and try to pull the gear off. If the gear won't come off, it's on there pretty good. If it comes right off instantly, it wasn't on there. You're just sitting there. It's kind of a feel thing you got to have. Okay, now you check your inflow, your gear. So we actually tightened all the way against that gear in the back, it looks like. Which is kind of rare. Yeah. It went all the way against the gear back there, the bush. Normally they're loose. It's tight up against that. So it sucked that thing way in there.
Right. Yeah, we got a couple of threads hanging out here.
Yeah. Yeah, I went in there a long ways. Maybe the gear's bigger than it used to be now. Cam won't fit.
It's a little stretched.
Maybe. Easy to break if they go in there that hard. So you rotate and look at it. I don't see no movement of the shaft or the gear teeth. If the gear looks like it's wobbling, it ain't on there square. See how it's nice and straight? So the shaft is straight, gear is straight. That's all good stuff. That's what you want to see. Okay. Where's the parts? Where's your new bowl?
Did it come off?
Usually it does, but I don't see it. See a bunch of broken gasket parts here, though. Ooh, they gave you a whole bunch of balls.
Damn.
Give an extra one in case you lose one.
Just generous.
That's pretty good. You know why they give you 2 balls?
Because they're different sizes.
One good one, one bad one.
Right.
No, it's because the earlier pumps had 2 balls in them.
Oh, right.
Yeah, if you go before 52, I think is when they went to the plunger. So before 52, they had a ball on this side and over here. And this one you only got 1 ball. So put a little bit of goop in there, like that. Drop it in, wipe off the excess where you just made a mess. Where's the spring you had?
Yeah, I just put them all back.
You did? Those look like new. Look at those things. So here's a little one. Oop. So one of these goes on the pump, one goes in the case. Which one's which?
I think the bigger one's on the case.
Think. That's how there's 2 different thread sizes.
Well, that could be tell.
So you try the big one first. If the big one will not go on the pump because it's too big, it probably does not go on the pump. You know why I didn't use a small one first?
Because you already knew.
No, because you can have a small one go in the wrong size hole. It'll look like it'll go in, but it'll only catch on just the tips of the threads. And if you go to try to torque it, just strips it. That one's in.
Tight.
Tight. Where's our plunger at? Use our plunger.
You may have. This is in the other end.
Should be on this end. Look what I found. Screws in here too. There's your old ball. We could have used that earlier. Ooh, a chrome one. Look at that. Switch. And a plunger.
There we go. Do you need these?
Use what? What's that? Eventually.
But not right now?
We'll need them. Okay, so there's our plunger. There's our spring for our plunger. There's our lubricant for our plunger. There's our plug. There's our new copper washer. So hopefully the paint is enough of a sealer to do our sealing. Otherwise you can put a fresh layer on. Goop doesn't really do much for you. Is that torque enough?
Maybe a little bit more.
Just slightly more?
Yeah.
No. It might affect the paint finish. So it's a 3/4. That should be enough. If you get too carried away, you'll break some. You just split the housing.
Right.
You'll fucking strip out the threads. You'll collapse you pull the thread right off because it's hollow. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. So try to be careful. Okay, then we have this, and we have this little washer here. Goes in the part that we're not using anymore. Strictly cosmetic. It appears to be bottoming out. That's bottomed out. Where's your little 3/8 wrench at? Got one of those?
We will be using that, won't we?
You weren't using it? We didn't need it? Need it now.
No, we'll be using the adjuster, won't we?
For what?
Or the primer shade?
You run a chain on this bike?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Thought you weren't running a chain on this bike. Okay.
Oh, I am.
You are? Well, you know what that means.
We'll be needing that.
It means you can't bottom it out. So you go half a turn, 3/4 of a turn. And then if you need more, you give it more. If you need less, you give it less.
That's how that works.
Do you know how you know which one you need?
You check the chain.
If after a day of riding the chain is still dry, you probably need more oil in it. Give another half a turn, or a 1/4 of a turn, I mean. If it's really making a big mess over there on the floor, maybe you go like
A little bit less.
Then after you rough it out that way, then you can get into 1/8 of a turn and a 1/16 of a turn. Find the
Right.
sweet spot. So that's how that's adjusted. Okay, now this here goes in here. I'm going to leave that loose for now, I think, because I can't get to my nut.
Mm.
So I'm just going to leave it kind of loose, but it's in there so we'll keep the crud out of there. And then, now we got some fittings here. We can have a chrome fitting here. Have a chrome fitting up here. Now this usually has like a longer one on it. There's also a fitting down here.
I drilled them out a little bit too.
So we have 2 fittings and 3 holes.
Oh, there'd be 3. There's another one in there.
So for now we're just going to put these in there to keep the crap out of them. The laser pumps, like on this, a lot of times they have a straight through here. But you put a taper plug in this one?
I haven't even used that pump yet. So whatever it came with it.
Well, it might have a straight thread in there. I didn't look real close to see which one it is right now. That's only going to go in a couple threads and stop, so I'm going to guess that might be a straight thread still. See, they're tapered, see how they go in more than two threads and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a straight thread that has a copper gasket that goes on here, this is this washer right here, and it bottoms out against the seal. If it's a tapered thread, it bottoms out on the thread.
Right.
So if it's tapered, it takes taper fitting. If it's a straight thread, it takes a gasket. But you have to have the appropriate fitting to go in there. So that one's questionable right now. So we'll have to go get a bolt and see if a fine thread bolt goes in there. Maybe we should go over here and grab one. Well, doesn't seem like it's the right
No.
thing.
Let me grab the other one. Appears to be missing.
Alright, we'll look for it later. Okay, now this here, there should be a spring in here, I think, on top of this to keep this thing from bouncing up and down. Maybe they're rely on the cork to do it. Maybe they're relying on the cork to do it. See how that's really tight up in there?
Mm-hmm.
There ain't no room for a spring. So they're probably relying on the cork to compress and tighten into it. Here's your cork. Maybe the spring goes on the top of this one. They change these things every few years. So there's your cork seal that goes in the bottom hole, see the hole down there? So this should just fit right in there. It fell in there, what do I do now?
Get the screwdriver.
Oh, put it in straight.
Square it up.
Oh, put it in straight. Oh, you mean like it's supposed to go in there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Like that? Supposed to be?
Looks appropriate.
Supposed to be that way? Now this here's going to want to just fall out as soon as I do this, so you got to be quick. So my guess is there's supposed to be a big spring on the outside of this to hold it down. It doesn't look like there's room for a spring to see the way this is made. Well, that bottomed out. There's no tension on it. Which means it ain't doing its job.
Mm-hmm.
And there's supposed to be a seal on here. Should be some kind of another washer or something. I don't really want to use paper in there. That's kind of stupid. What else we got to do? I don't like any of those options. I think that's our only option though. Yeah. Yeah, we used to have a copper washer, they're not stupid ass gasket. Yeah. This looks like a valve guide gasket to me. See how there's 4 of them in there?
Mm-hmm.
The valve guides you have.
4.
Probably a valve guide gasket. Yeah, see, it fits so nice. Yeah, just compress it in.
Right.
Like, that'll never leak. Yeah, look at that. Oh, why would that leak?
No idea.
But see, it's the right size. See? Just it would leak. So that's going to have to just bottom out with no gasket, I guess. But that is not being held in right now. I don't think there's room for 2 corks. I've never seen 2 corks in there anyway. It doesn't really fit in there. You wouldn't think you would stack 2 corks in the bottom.
No.
If they wanted a big fat cork, they would have made a big fat cork down there. But I don't know why they gave us 2 corks. It's almost like they want us to use that. I don't like that though. I really don't like that.
At the bottom.
It's out of vision. Yeah. I don't know if a mag will even work on that. Might be copper. This steel. It fits right in there.
What are these ones for? There's only 3 of them.
It's for the oil line that you don't have. If you had a 65 panhead, you'd have a line here. You have 3 lines.
Yeah, that's what it was.
1 rubber here, 2 on the heads, on the outside of their heads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's got tension on it, like it's supposed to with no gasket. Looks like that's how it works. It's not much compression though. I think that spring, the screen is still rattling up there.
Right.
'Cause there's no tension on that thing.
There's no little springs in this box, is there? Nothing. What about this Tatro? This was it this copper washer?
It looks like the correct washer for right there. The problem is that takes even more.
Yeah, tension off.
There's no tension at all on the cork if you do that.
Is this the old cork? Just to check sizes.
This one that was in there. So if we stack 3 of them in there. Man, we don't like doing that.
You already got 2 in there?
Yes. We can't have that one down there because we have to have compressibility to hold this in.
Right.
Little pick tool. Could go look in the book, but yeah. Yeah, you got it. I had it until I dropped it. New ones on top now and on the bottom. So they do the ceiling. And the one in the middle just takes up space. There's our compressibility. Because it's going to go in there. So we have about 2 thicknesses of this for compressibility, which will give us our torque we're looking for to seal. See, there's our tension starts right there. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but that will work. That's just kind of a hokey way of doing things. But it's in there. Oh well. Okay, that's it for now on that one.